Are you an early Pi network miner wondering if you're sitting on a gold mine? Are you confused about why some people are saying Pi network is the next Tesla while others call it worthless? Do you want to know the truth about what the big whales are doing with Pi network right now while everyone else is distracted? Well, you're in exactly the right place. The whales are tricking you, and I have the proof. Early Pi network miners are in the same incredible position as people who bought Tesla stock at $17, Apple shares when it was just a computer company, or Bitcoin when it was worth pennies. In this video, I'm going to answer the most important questions every Pi network holder is asking right now. How are early Pi miners like legendary Tesla and Apple investors? What are the whales doing behind the scenes that most people can't see? And most importantly, are you still early? Or did you miss the biggest opportunity in crypto history? But here's the shocking truth that will blow your mind. I discovered that Pi Network's journey perfectly mirrors every major wealth-building success story in history. And I'll show you exactly why early Pi miners are about to experience something incredible that 99% of people still don't understand. If you're excited about Pi Network's potential and want to be part of our amazing global community, write Pi Network to Moon in the comments along with your country name and flag. I read every single comment, and I love seeing our Pi family representing from every corner of the world. Don't forget to smash that like button right now if you believe in Pi Network's future. Trust me, you need to watch this entire video, because I'm going to reveal a secret at the end that could completely change how you think about your Pi holdings forever. I'm Nathan as usual, and today, let me start with a story that will give you goosebumps. Remember when your friends and family laughed at you for pressing a button on your phone every day? They said Pi Network was fake, a waste of time, just another scam. Well, guess who's laughing now? Those early Pi miners weren't just collecting worthless digital coins. They were getting free equity in what has become one of the most talked about blockchain projects in crypto history. And here's the part that will shock you. This is exactly what happened to early Tesla investors. When Tesla stock was trading at $17, everyone said electric cars would never work. The media called Elon Musk crazy. Traditional car companies said Tesla would fail within a year. But look what happened. Tesla stock went from $17 to over $400. That's more than 2,000% growth. The same thing happened with Apple. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple, the company was almost bankrupt. People said personal computers were just a fad. But early Apple investors who believed in the vision became millionaires when Apple launched the iPhone and became the most valuable company in the world. But here's the beautiful part about Pi Network that makes it even better than Tesla or Apple. You didn't need thousands of dollars to get in early. You didn't need to be a rich investor with special connections. All you needed was a smartphone and the vision to see what was coming. Those daily mining sessions were your way of earning equity in a revolutionary financial system. While other people were buying expensive stocks or Bitcoin mining equipment, you were accumulating Pi Network tokens completely for free. Think about this for a moment. Every single person who became wealthy from tech stocks had one thing in common. They believed in something before everyone else did. When Jeff Bezos was selling books from his garage, most people thought online shopping would never work. When Satoshi Nakamoto released Bitcoin, financial experts called it magic internet money. But the believers, the early adopters, the people who could see the future, they're the ones who got rich. And that's exactly what's happening with Pi Network right now. Early miners are in the perfect position to benefit from what's coming next. Now let me reveal something that most Pi Network holders don't know. The whales are playing a completely different game than regular investors, and they're using this to their advantage right now. While everyone is excited about Pi Network trading on exchanges like OKX, Bitget, and Gate.io, the big whales are quietly making moves behind the scenes. They're not just buying Pi Network tokens, they're positioning themselves for something much bigger. Here's how the whale trick works. First, they let the regular investors get emotional about price movements and exchange listings. While everyone is watching the charts and talking about quick profits, whales are thinking years ahead. I discovered that large holders have been accumulating Pi Network tokens for months, but they're doing it very carefully. They don't want to drive the price up too fast because they want to keep buying at low prices. This is exactly what happened with Tesla stock in the early days. Big investment firms were quietly buying Tesla shares while the media was still calling it a risky investment. By the time regular investors realized Tesla was going to succeed, the whales had already accumulated massive positions at low prices. The same pattern is happening with Pi Network right now. While retail investors are focused on daily price movements and exchange rumors, institutional players are looking at Pi Network's fundamentals. They see 60 million engaged users. They see real applications being built. They see a community that's growing every day. But here's the most important part that nobody is talking about. Pi Network's supply is limited. There will never be more Pi tokens than what's already been mined or allocated. This creates a situation where increasing demand meets fixed supply, which historically leads to significant price increases. The whales understand this supply and demand dynamic perfectly. They know that as more people discover Pi Network and want to buy it, the price will have to go up because there aren't unlimited tokens available. Here's another whale strategy that most people miss. They're not just holding Pi Network tokens. They're also getting involved in the Pi Network ecosystem. They're investing in Pi-based applications, supporting Pi merchants, and building businesses that will benefit from Pi Network's growth. This is exactly what smart investors did with Apple. They didn't just buy Apple stock. They built businesses around Apple products, created apps for the App Store, and became part of the Apple ecosystem. When Apple succeeded, these ecosystem players made even more money than regular stock investors. Here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. What we're seeing with Pi Network right now is just the beginning of something much bigger. We're witnessing the birth of a completely new financial system. While traditional banks are struggling with inflation, economic uncertainty, and losing people's trust, Pi Network is offering something revolutionary. A people-powered financial system where value is created by community participation, not corporate manipulation. Let me paint you a picture of what this means. Remember when Amazon was just an online bookstore? People said, "Why would I buy books online when I can go to a physical store?" But Jeff Bezos saw the bigger picture. He knew that e-commerce would eventually change how people shop for everything. The same thing is happening with Pi Network. Right now, people are saying, "Why would I use Pi Network when I can use regular money?" But the early adopters see the bigger vision. They understand that decentralized finance will eventually challenge traditional banking. The numbers tell an incredible story. Pi Network has over 60 million users worldwide. To put that in perspective, that's more people than most countries have. It's a bigger user base than many major corporations have customers. But unlike other crypto projects that focus on speculation, Pi Network has real utility. There are merchants accepting Pi payments. Developers are building applications on the Pi blockchain. People are using Pi Network for actual transactions, not just trading. This is creating something that economists call a network effect. The more people who use Pi Network, the more valuable it becomes for everyone. It's the same effect that made Facebook, Google, and Amazon so valuable. As their user bases grew, their value increased exponentially. Here's where it gets really exciting. We're still in the very early stages of this network effect with Pi Network. The project recently launched its open mainnet, which means it's transitioning from development phase to real-world adoption phase. Think about what happened with the internet in the 1990s. Most people thought it was just for computer nerds and universities. But the early adopters who built websites, started online businesses, and invested in internet companies became incredibly wealthy as the internet transformed society. Pi Network is following the exact same pattern. We're at the stage where most people still don't understand what's happening, but the infrastructure is being built for mass adoption. The beauty of being an early Pi miner goes beyond just potential financial gains. You are part of something historic, the creation of the world's first truly accessible cryptocurrency. You didn't need expensive equipment, technical knowledge, or huge investments. You just needed to believe in a better financial future. Now I'm going to share the secret strategy that smart investors are using while everyone else is getting distracted by short-term price movements. This is the part where you really need to pay attention because it could change your entire approach to Pi Network. The first thing smart investors do is ignore the noise. They don't make decisions based on daily price charts or social media hype. Instead, they focus on fundamental value and long-term trends. When they look at Pi Network, they see several key factors that indicate massive potential. First, the user base is enormous and growing. Second, the technology is solid and continuously improving. Third, the ecosystem is expanding with new applications and use cases. These are the same factors that made early Tesla and Apple investors wealthy. They didn't buy Tesla stock because of daily price movements. They bought it because they believed electric vehicles would eventually replace gas cars. They were right, and they got rich. The second strategy is what I call patience investing. Smart investors understand that revolutionary technology takes time to reach its full potential. They don't expect overnight success. They're willing to wait years for their investments to mature. This is exactly what happened with Amazon stock. Jeff Bezos told investors from the beginning that Amazon would lose money for years while building its infrastructure. Many investors sold their Amazon stock during the early years because they wanted quick profits. But the patient investors who held on became millionaires. Pi Network is in a similar phase right now. The team is building infrastructure, growing the user base, and developing real-world applications. This foundation-building phase might not create immediate price increases, but it's setting up Pi Network for massive long-term success. The third strategy is ecosystem participation. Smart investors don't just buy Pi Network tokens and wait. They get involved in the Pi Network community. They use Pi-based applications, support Pi merchants, and help build the ecosystem. This creates multiple ways to benefit from Pi Network's success. Not only do their Pi tokens increase in value, but their participation in the ecosystem creates additional opportunities for profit. Here's a real example. Some smart investors have started businesses that accept Pi Network payments. Others have developed applications that run on the Pi blockchain. As Pi Network grows, these businesses become more valuable, creating additional income streams beyond just holding tokens. The fourth strategy is diversification within the Pi ecosystem. Instead of just holding Pi tokens, smart investors are exploring different ways to participate in Pi Network's growth. They might mine Pi, use Pi applications, invest in Pi-based businesses, or even start their own Pi-related projects. This diversified approach reduces risk while maximizing potential returns. If one area of the Pi ecosystem grows faster than others, they benefit. If the entire Pi ecosystem succeeds, they benefit multiple times over. So, what should you do with all this information? Let me give you a clear action plan that you can follow, whether you're an early Pi miner or someone who's just discovering Pi Network. First, if you are an early Pi miner, congratulations! You're in an incredible position. But don't get overconfident. The real wealth will be created by people who hold their Pi tokens for years, not months. Think like a Tesla investor who bought at $17 and held until it reached $400. Second, if you're new to Pi Network, don't panic about being late. We're still in the very early stages of Pi Network's journey. Remember, Tesla didn't become really valuable until they started mass-producing cars. Apple didn't explode until the iPhone. Bitcoin didn't reach its potential until institutions started buying it. Pi Network is just now transitioning from development to real-world adoption. The best opportunities are still ahead of us. Third, educate yourself about Pi Network's technology and vision. Don't just follow the crowd or listen to random opinions on social media. Read the Pi Network white paper, understand how the blockchain works, and learn about the applications being built on the platform. Knowledge is your best protection against making emotional decisions. When you understand what Pi Network is trying to achieve, you're less likely to panic sell during temporary price drops or get caught up in unrealistic hype. Fourth, if you decide to invest in Pi Network, do it gradually. Don't put all your money in at once, hoping for a quick pump. Use dollar cost averaging to build your position over time. This reduces your risk and helps you avoid buying at temporary price peaks. Fifth, consider participating in the Pi Network ecosystem beyond just holding tokens. Try Pi-based applications, support merchants who accept Pi payments, and engage with the Pi Network community. This will help you understand the project better and potentially create additional opportunities for profit. Here's a bonus strategy that most people miss. Keep track of Pi Network's development milestones and partnership announcements. Major progress updates often lead to increased interest and price appreciation. Being aware of these developments can help you make better timing decisions. But remember, the most important strategy is patience. Revolutionary technology doesn't succeed overnight. The people who got wealthy from Tesla, Apple, Amazon, and Bitcoin all had one thing in common. They held their investments for years, not weeks or months. Pi Network has the potential to be just as transformative as these other technologies. But realizing that potential will take time. The early miners who have the patience to hold their Pi tokens for the long term are the ones who will benefit the most. Let me share something with you that will give you incredible confidence about Pi Network's future. The trends that are driving Pi Network's growth are only getting stronger. First, people around the world are losing trust in traditional banking systems. Every month we hear about bank failures, inflation problems, and government currency manipulation. This is creating huge demand for alternative financial systems like Pi Network. Second, smartphone adoption is exploding globally. Pi Network's mobile-first approach means it's perfectly positioned to serve the billions of people who have smartphones but limited access to traditional banking services. Third, the technology behind Pi Network keeps improving. The development team is constantly adding new features, improving security, and building partnerships with real-world businesses. This continuous improvement creates a competitive advantage that will be hard for other projects to match. But here's the most exciting part. We're seeing early signs of institutional interest in Pi Network. While retail investors are focused on daily price movements, institutional players are quietly evaluating Pi Network's long-term potential. When institutions start buying Pi Network tokens in large quantities, it could trigger the same kind of price explosion that we saw with Bitcoin when companies like Tesla and MicroStrategy started adding it to their balance sheets. The supply and demand dynamics are also working in Pi Network's favor. The total supply is limited, but demand is growing as more people discover the project. This creates natural upward pressure on the price over time. Here's something that most people don't realize. Pi Network's 60 million user base represents massive untapped economic potential. If even a small percentage of these users start using Pi Network for daily transactions, it could create enormous demand for Pi tokens. Think about it this way. If Pi Network captures just 1% of global digital payments, each Pi token could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. With the payments industry worth trillions of dollars globally, even a small market share would be incredibly valuable. The network effects are also accelerating. As more merchants accept Pi payments, it becomes more useful for consumers. As more consumers use Pi, it becomes more attractive for merchants. This creates a positive feedback loop that drives continuous growth. We're also seeing the emergence of Pi-based financial services. Lending, borrowing, and investing platforms built on Pi Network are creating additional demand for Pi tokens while providing useful services to the community. This ecosystem expansion is exactly what happened with Ethereum. As more applications were built on the Ethereum blockchain, demand for Ethereum tokens increased dramatically. Pi Network is following the same path, but with a much larger user base to start with. The regulatory environment is also becoming more favorable for legitimate cryptocurrency projects like Pi Network. As governments create clearer rules for digital assets, institutional investors become more comfortable participating in the market. All of these factors are converging to create an incredible opportunity for early Pi network participants. The people who recognize these trends and position themselves accordingly will be the biggest beneficiaries of Pi network's success. Here's the bottom line: pioneers. The whales are tricking most people into focusing on short-term price movements while they quietly position themselves for long-term success. But now you know their secret strategy. Early Pi network miners are sitting in the exact same golden position as people who bought Tesla at $17, Apple in the early 2000s, or Bitcoin when it was worth pennies. You believed in revolutionary technology before it became obvious to everyone else. The numbers don't lie. Pi network has 60 million users, growing ecosystem, limited supply, and increasing real-world adoption. These are the exact same factors that drove massive wealth creation in Tesla, Apple, Amazon, and Bitcoin. Whether you're an early Pi miner or someone just discovering the project, you're still early in Pi network's journey. The transition from development to mass adoption is just beginning, and the biggest opportunities are still ahead of us. Don't let the whales trick you into making emotional decisions. Instead, use the strategies I've shared to position yourself for long-term success. Be patient, stay educated, and think like the successful investors who got wealthy from revolutionary technology. If this video opened your eyes to Pi network's incredible potential, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to bring you more insider insights about projects that are changing the world. Write Pi network to Moon in the comments along with your country name and flag. I love seeing our global Pi network family representing from every corner of the world, and I read every single comment. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss important updates about Pi network and other revolutionary projects. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening with Pi network. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't let the whales trick you. The real wealth goes to the patient investors who can see the future before it becomes obvious to everyone else. I'll see you in the next video.